Mariners left-handed reliever Tayler Saucedo joins me to talk about his breakout season in 2023, what it was like seeing a close friend of his get traded last week, dealing with and overcoming mental health issues as a professional ball player, and so much more coming up here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Tuesday, February 6, 2024. This is Ty Gonzalez for the Locked On Mariners podcast, brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more, and right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 winning bet. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn, that's LOCKEDON, to get started. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Subscribe, like, and turn on alerts if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform if you like what you hear. And if you're part of the crew and rock with us every single day, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to hear from us even more, please consider signing up for our Patreon. You can now get a free 7-day trial to check out the show. The link, as well as our social accounts, is in the description of this episode. And this is a very special episode because back on Thursday night, I got the chance to talk with Mariners left-handed reliever Tayler Saucedo, and I'm going to be playing that full discussion for you on the show in just a moment. We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about his breakout season in 2023, what ultimately led to that, and what the conversations were like with the Mariners pitching lab when he was first brought into the organization. We also talked about the big Jorge Polanco trade last week, which of course resulted in one of Saucedo's good friends, Justin Topa, heading to Minnesota. We talked about dealing with trolls on the internet, people that step way too over the line when talking to players on social media, and how he has dealt with that, and how he has dealt with some mental health issues in the past, and how he's overcome that. And just what his insights are on that, which is really fascinating. And I really appreciated his thoughts on that. And I think you will as well. We also talked a little bit about the Seahawks, because if you don't know, Sauce is a pretty big Seahawks fan. He's also a pretty big Huskies fan. And even still to this day, as he says, pretty big Mariners fan. We talked a little bit about that as well. And some other really fun stuff. So I think you'll really enjoy it. I'm going to shut up now. Enjoy the interview. All right. I am here with Mariners left-handed reliever Tayler Saucedo. Tayler, thanks for being here. How's your offseason going?
Of course. Pretty good. Not too bad. 2 weeks out now? So pretty pumped.
Are you getting down there a little early before pitchers and catchers, or you picking it up to the deadline?
I'm actually here right now. So
you're there now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh, so when I said 6 your time, you're actually on Arizona.
I was waiting. I was like,
my bad. My bad.
No, all good.
So last year was a pretty different situation for you. You got claimed off of waivers. You were kind of a back end of the 40-man roster guy. You competed in spring and quickly made it up to the bigs, and you stuck. But now this time around, you're kind of part of the core of the bullpen. So has your mentality shifted heading into this winter and heading into spring training, or is it pretty much the same?
No, I mean, I'm not trying to, make it anything bigger than it is. I think more than ever, I'm more focused and more determined to get out there. And, obviously losing Topa, that kind of pushed me up a little bit again, like you're saying. And, I'm just now at this point, I'm just eager. I think we have a pretty good team, and I'm just excited for what's ahead.
Yeah, so you mentioned losing your good friend Justin Topa. What's your reaction to that deal? Obviously, you bring in a great player in Jorge Polanco, but again, you lose a close friend, and that's not the first of one of your good friends there in that bullpen that you've lost recently. So, how's been dealing with that, and overall, you guys have lost a lot of leadership. A lot of leaders in that clubhouse have gone out this winter and over the last calendar year. So what has that all been like?
Obviously that's the business. you knew that we were making trades. I never really saw Topa's name being thrown around, but when you get a great player like Polanco, like that's going to be the price. You're going to have to give up somebody great as well. And Topa was massive for us. We all know that. The Topa Brash Munoz was great. It was one of the best in baseball, and it's going to be hard to replace that. But I fully trust in what they're doing, and I think there's a lot of guys ready to take that next step, and so you can afford to lose somebody like Topa, and with the track record, they're going to find people out there, and I think they've earned that, and so yeah, I mean, I'm excited, to see how this all looks.
So you're down there in Peoria right now. You're getting to work. You were telling me earlier on in the week, you're doing your bullpens, all that stuff. Are you working on anything new? Anything new we can expect from Tayler Saucedo in 2024?
No, I'm just trying to just working on the slider, getting that more consistent. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. I'm feeling good where I'm at. It's probably the biggest I've been, and I'm just ready to go.
So we talk a lot here on the show about the Mariners pitching lab. Obviously, this organization has changed a lot of careers for relievers as of late, and tapped into some potential that other teams just weren't able to. Tell us a little bit about your experience coming into this organization. What were those first few conversations like when you were brought into the fold? And was there anything that the organization focused in on that they wanted to emphasize or change in your game?
No, not really. The conversations that I had with them early on were really eye-opening. Basically, I mean, they just did a lot of like, hey, you're really good in this area, but you don't do it enough. And they showed me numbers of like, hey, here's what your stuff looks like ahead of the count, behind the count, like, like even when you're doing this, you're still good in this area. And I never really had conversations like that or data shown to me in that way. And when I saw that, it kind of just, brought a little bit more confidence out. I'm like, oh, so you're saying I can do this and I'm still having success? And they're like, yeah, they're like, we think, you can make an impact here. And I was like, okay, and I really haven't heard stuff like that before. So, and they were open and honest with me right when I got there. Obviously they're like, hey, you're probably not going to break with us. You're probably going to go down there, but at some point you're gonna pitch for us. And just hearing that and having that open line of communication just kind of made things a little bit easier, and a little bit more comfortable to transition into. And I'm really thankful for them because all they do is they just pump you with all this good information, and they're backing you 100%. Like they fully believe in you. They know that you're going to make mistakes. They know that you're going to fail, but at the end of the day, like if you're doing what they're asking, you're probably going to stick around and be pretty good for them.
So what specifically clicked for you last year? Because last year was pretty much your breakout. Like what would you attribute your success to?
I just think that, like I said, that, having the trust from them and, going out there and not feeling like every game was do or die to my career. And, and just the things that we worked on, going into that. And even in when I got up there were still some things that we were adjusting, especially with my changeup. And, and Woody just made it really simple for me to learn. And it wasn't like over coaching, wasn't anything that was like, hey, you need to do this or that. Like it was just simple drills, simple things, simple targets for the eyes. And I just trusted them and what they were saying. And I went out there and tried to execute it to the best of my ability. And, I think it went really well.
So you mentioned Pete Woodworth. You also were working with Stephen Vogt last year out in the bullpen. He's now the Guardians manager. What was working with him like? And now you got Tony Armrich coming over from the hitting side of things, was the hitting coach last year. Now he's your bullpen coach. I assume you guys have had some conversations here over the winter. What have those been like? And what are your expectations for working with Tony?
I'm sure, Vogt was, told him kind of like, how to handle it and everything over there. And, it's really hard to replace a guy like Vogt. We already knew who he was going to be. Like it was very clear. For him, like I said, the communication was always easy. He wasn't out there, coaching you like right before you're going in, like, hey, stay away from this or stay away from that. It was always like your best stuff gets this guy out. And, you believed it,
Yeah.
you can tell it was always sincere. And, when that kind of takes a little bit of pressure off you as well, when you're going in there, it doesn't put you in a box. He always just tells you, if you go out there and you do your best stuff, like they said in meetings, you're going to have success. And, you can see that out there, to have one of the best bullpens in baseball. And we knew that he was probably going to be gone after this one. We were hoping he would stay in house, but when you get an opportunity like that, hard to pass it up. So I'm sure Tony will do the same. I think we're going to be just fine over there. Good group of guys. It's going to be a little bit different, but I think that core is still there. So I think the transition is going to be just fine for him.
More from my conversation with Tayler Saucedo in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into an MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Again, that is ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen. We're here with Mariners left-handed reliever Tayler Saucedo. Tayler, I get asked this a lot by our listeners, and just in general, the conversation about this bullpen and all the arms that are involved here. Is there someone that we might be sleeping on in that bullpen?
I mean, not sleeping, but I think we all are aware of who he is. I think Gabe doesn't get enough recognition. That guy was an absolute dog. He went out there, one of the most innings in our appearances for us. And he was pitching every other day. It felt like him and Brash out there, and I think what he brings to the table is just he just loads up the zone. He lights it up, and it's really hard to do. And when you do it that consistently and that well, it doesn't matter what you throw, it's gonna be hard to hit. And he's really fun to watch.
So one of the questions I really wanted to get you on here to ask you, unfortunately back in July, you posted a screenshot of someone that didn't have anything nice to say to you. You addressed it. I'm really curious, especially for you as someone that you've said that you've dealt with mental health issues in the past. How do you navigate dealing with negativity on social media, dealing with threats like that on social media? Especially as a reliever, because a lot of games hinge upon you guys going out there and executing, and when things don't go particularly well, you easily become the target for pathetic people on the internet. So how do you maneuver that?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. You try to ignore it as best as you can. When you get messages like the one that I received, obviously you want to address that one, and make sure, hopefully you can get to them and be like, hey man, we're human beings too. At the end of the day, this is our job, and nobody's out there trying to, mess it up or lose a game or give up runs or whatever it is, and so you just kind of try to turn a cheek to it. And at the end of the day, you lean on your guys, and the only opinion that matters are the people in that clubhouse and the people that you work with, and obviously your family and stuff like that. I understand the game, and when we're watching it, we always want the best outcome, and obviously to make our stress levels easier. I get it when I watch the Seahawks, and stuff like that. And but at the end of the day, we're humans too. We're gonna mess up. We're not perfect. I don't think anybody in this game has ever thrown up a perfect 0 all season. So, just knowing that failure, it's going to come with some consequences, and none of that stuff matters. So, I probably back in the day, like you said, when I was going through the mental health stuff, probably would have, got to me a little bit more than it has. But now I've learned so much. There's nothing that anybody's going to say to me that I've never said to myself. So it's not gonna sway me at all.
What have you learned? What would you tell a young ball player that might be going through some mental health stuff, that might be overthinking it or worrying about, the outside noise, stuff like that?
Just, hopefully you're communicating with somebody and you're not internalizing it. It's okay to look at it. It's okay to feel it, but you just, hopefully you never get stuck there.
Hmm.
At some point you're going to have to move on, and, you just, hopefully you have the right resources to do that, and that would be my only advice. And that was something that I didn't do. I try to internalize everything. I didn't ask for help. I didn't ask questions. I wasn't, looking for other sources or outlets. And, that builds up and it could be dangerous. And so hopefully, just, it's okay to express your feelings if you're going through it, and that's it. And just talk.
So you've quickly become a fan favorite in Seattle, and I think part of that is because you're kind of one of us, right? Like you're a
100%.
PNW boy. You love the Hawks. You love the Huskies. I mean, I got to ask about that unfortunate week a few weeks back. You losing the Natty, then DeBoer dips out, and then Pete is essentially fired. Like, let's just cut through the BS on that. Like, he was basically fired.
100%.
I took that really hard. the Pete stuff especially. That was a tough first couple of days there. What was that like for you? Was that the most heartbreaking week for you as a sports fan ever?
Easily. I don't think I don't think that it was, I didn't think it was ever going to end. It just felt like there was like, what else? What else? Here we go.
Yeah.
What else? And then obviously, even when the Pete stuff happened, you had the college stuff going on. Everybody was entering the portal, and you're like, dude, everyone's gone now. And like, what are we going to do? And, and then I go golfing, and I golf with this Michigan alum who's in all Michigan gear with the Michigan hat. And I'm like, this is a nightmare. And then I'm on the course with the guy, and then, Pete Carroll gets let go or stepped down, whatever it was. And I'm like, how is this continuing to go on? And yeah, that sucked. Yeah. I'm Seattle sports all the way, and I always have been. So it's even when I'm with the Mariners, the fan is still with me. Like, I'm still like kind of like, oh my God, I'm playing with so and so. Like, even though I see him every day and going there. So yeah, it's with me everywhere.
So you and I are similar ages, so we grew up watching the same Mariners teams and all that. Who was your guy? My guy was Cammy. Like, everyone loved Ichiro, but I love Cammy. Who was your guy?
Growing up, Mike Cameron was one of them. I actually had one of his broken bats since I was like,
Really? Well,
yeah.
That's funny because I do too. A listener. A listener of ours, his dad was a clubby at the Rainiers back when Cammy was on a rehab stint, and he heard on a show that I was a big Cammy guy, so he sent me this.
Yeah, something similar. Mine's literally broken like that too. Mine was my aunt had a boyfriend who was the bat boy, and he obviously knew that I was a big Mike Cameron guy, so I got the bat for Christmas. So I brought it in for spring training, so that was pretty cool, and had him sign it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. But I think my like number one guy was Felix, all the way through.
Yeah, can't go wrong with Felix.
Wore 34 everywhere I could go. Anytime I can get it. And so I actually had it in Tacoma, and they still had his name attached to it. So I got to wear that for a little bit. So that was pretty cool.
Did you get to say what's up to him for Hall of Fame week?
I actually didn't see him. He never came around the clubhouse. So we didn't, he was busy doing a bunch of other stuff. So I didn't,
gotcha.
I didn't get to see him. But I mean, that was just insane, just being a part of that whole day. That was cool.
So I'm releasing the show on Tuesday, but we're just for transparency's sake, we're talking on Thursday night, February 1st. Earlier today, Mike McDonald got introduced as the Seahawks' new head coach. What do you think?
I love it. I mean, I hear, obviously you saw how good the Ravens D was this year, and I'm hearing, he's young. That's nice. And I hear he's like the Sean McVay of defenses, just what I've heard, and that's pretty cool. And then obviously today it sounds like, they've been talking to Grubb to come be the OC. So that would be glorious. That would be awesome. But
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be the cherry on top of all of it.
And get Kalen DeBoer back a little bit,
Exactly. So that would be pretty cool. I don't know. I mean, I like it. I think a lot of people obviously wanted him, but they went deep into the playoffs, so they kind of hired a little bit early. I'm glad the Seahawks waited it out.
Yeah.
I think I would have been fine with Ben Johnson as well. That would have been cool. But I'm excited.
My conversation with Tayler Saucedo continues in just a moment, but first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. I'm sure a lot of us Seahawks fans are going to be hate watching the 49ers and cheering on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, but the only thing I would love more than seeing the 49ers go home crying is winning some cold, hard cash on FanDuel. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W, or 2, or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers can join today and get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/LOCKEDON. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So I talked a little bit about how, you're kind of one of us, right? So what's your take on Seattle sports Twitter, Seahawks Twitter, Mariners Twitter, all these Twitters, because it can get wild on there some days.
I mean, it's they're passionate. I think that's the fun thing to see. My Twitter has always been this way, so I've been a part of it for a long time, and I think it's funny to see it from now that like I'm a player. And like seeing it from like I always saw it from like the fans' view, and like you said, I'm one of you guys. So like it's hard to kind of separate that sometimes. I kind of want to be like, hey, comment on that, but I'm like, I kind of but it's they're passionate, I'll say.
Yeah, for sure. I've experienced all sides of Mariners Twitter. It is something. Sure. It is something. So, like I told you, I took the news about Pete really hard, really, really hard. I mean, like, I lived through the Holmgren era, the 1 year of Jim Mora. Like, I know what life as a Seahawks fan is like without Pete Carroll, but it's been so long, man, and like. Yeah. Pete's just synonymous with the Seahawks. So it's weird. Like even yesterday when the news about McDonald, and I wanted McDonald, he was my guy, he was my choice. Really excited about that. Even then, it kind of brought the emotions back. I'm just like, this is great, but also Pete's not around. So that sucks.
I mean, you kind of like, we always knew this day was coming, right?
Yeah.
But it never makes it easier when it actually happened. Because I obviously I think he still had a lot left. Yeah. I think obviously he still wants to coach, but I guess they felt it was time. So
yeah.
But we'll see.
We'll see. What is something you will remember most about Pete Carroll?
Just his energy. Like I think sometimes we don't realize how old he is, and that, and it just seems like he hasn't aged, and just what like he brought to the teams, like like every player, I think, it was always an attraction because you had Pete Carroll. You always hear about how he's a player's coach and how he, I think we got the best out of players when, it was always felt like we were going to have a down year. And then all of a sudden we're having a surprising year and we're playing for the playoffs. And, I just think that he brought a lot of energy to the team. And, I'm going to miss that because that was the best years of Seahawks football while he was there, and so it was, obviously that's going to be really tough to place. He brought us to Super Bowl, should have had two. It's whatever. We won't talk about it, but he's going to be hard to replace. He's kind of like that Nick Saban for Alabama, right? Like it's nobody. You don't want to take that job because for us Seattle fans, it's probably going to be, tough. We're going to expect all these things, and but I'm grateful that I actually got to meet him this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I got to go to Seahawks practice, and he just comes running over, and I was telling my family about it. He's talking, he's just like saying everything. It was right after the Angels series, and and he's saying a bunch of stuff. He's like, it's great to have you from Able Valley, blah blah blah. And he gets done, and he's like telling me, he's like, yeah, make sure you get close. It's competition day. I'm like, oh, okay, like, right. He runs over and he just picks up this football and he just takes it probably 20-yard pass into this basketball hoop. I'm like, what? Like, who is this guy? He's crazy,
That's quintessentially Pete. My buddy Matty, we do a Seahawks podcast together. He's big into film and stuff like that. He's from England, and so when they went to Germany for the Bucks game, Matty got a press pass and he got to ask Pete like a real football question, and so Pete saw that and he was like, oh, this is a ball knower here. So Pete, after the press conference, he told their PR guy or whatever, hey, bring that kid over. Let's talk a little bit. So, he took Matty over for I don't know, 10 minutes or so and talked to him about a bunch of stuff off the record and all that. I've never had the chance to meet Pete. I hope one day that I'll have the chance to meet Pete, but every story that I've heard about him is it doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, all that, he will treat you like an equal. Yep. He will treat you with all the respect in the world. And I love and admire Pete Carroll for that 100%. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen. I am here, of course, with Mariners left-handed reliever Tayler Saucedo. Taylor, really appreciate you coming on here. I got a couple more questions for you. You have been busy streaming on Twitch. How's that been, becoming a Twitch streamer?
I mean, it's cool. It's something I've always been trying to do, and kind of took off this year a little bit. I don't know. It's fun. I like engaging with people. I like, talking it up. I'm a little crazy on the game. Could be entertaining. I don't know. But right. No, it's fun. It's cool.
What do you like playing the most right now?
I'm just playing a lot of COD. Nothing really out there that I'm playing. Other than that, I'm waiting for NCAA football to come out. That'll probably consume a lot of my time once that comes out. So that'll be fun.
What was the first video game you gravitated to? What made you fall in love with video games?
I got a PlayStation 2 and I played I think it was Spider-Man 2.
The movie tie-in game. That was the one back then.
I think that was really the first game I played, and then obviously I started playing all the NCAAs. I was more into sports games at the time. So I played a lot of those, but then I got more into FPS games later on, like Halo and stuff.
What's your go-to pregame or workout music? I saw you follow Cuddy on Twitter. Cuddy is one of my favorites.
He's number one. He's number one or number two for me.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw it, but I got Man on the Moon 1, Man on the Moon 2, Man on the Moon 3 there in the back. Love Cuddy. What's your favorite Cuddy song?
Prayer. I like Prayer a lot.
That's classic.
Yeah, that's pretty standard. I like a lot of his early stuff, when he was first coming out. But I liked, Insano. Obviously, I listened to Insano the other day. Pretty good.
I like half of the album. That's usually how I am with Cuddy albums nowadays.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like half of it.
There's some hit or misses in there, but
Yeah.
it's it's no man on the moons, but
No, I don't know
I'll
if
take
he'll ever
anything
be
from
able to.
Petty though. So.
No, for sure. Like he's even dropping the deluxe, and I'm like, yeah, dude. Like I'm
Fair
listening
enough.
as soon as you drop it. As soon as you drop it, I'm there. Yeah, I really like that song that with Travis, "Get Off Me."
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's a banger.
Yeah, I don't really whatever JP's playing in the clubhouse is what we're listening to.
JP is a Cuddy guy too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
he's a big one.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever JP's playing, that's what we're listening to.
All right, us on Mariners Twitter, we want him to bring "Miss the Rage" back as his walk-up song. Can you help us out with that?
Because I did see him tweet yesterday that he put the eyes. So I think I think he's already on it.
We got to bring it back. It's too good. Like it's iconic. Like you can't switch it up.
That's a perfect one. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on here. It's been a hell of a conversation. I really, really enjoyed this. I wish you nothing but the best of luck this year. Huge fan, man. It was great having a chance to meet you. Anything you want to say to the listeners before you get out of here?
No, I'm just excited to get back out there and hopefully see you guys out there and let's win some ball games. Go M's.
Thanks so much, Taylor. Go M's. That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again to Tayler Saucedo for being generous with his time to come and chat with me for a few minutes. I've been your host, Ty Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Ty Dan Gonzalez and my co-host Colby Patnode over at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. Thank you again for making us your first listen. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.